I'm Jill Heng with Nebraska Realty. I'm a realtor here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Today I have with me Stacey Prall. She is with 402 Title because I get a lot of questions working with buyers and sellers. They generally have an idea of what a realtor does, sometimes have an idea of a loan officer and lending, but title is a mystery. So I brought Stacey here today to answer some of these questions for us. So Stacey, thanks for coming out today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my first question I get asked a lot is title insurance the same as homeowners insurance?
It is not. Title insurance does not insure your physical property.
Okay.
It just ensures that you have a free and clear title to your house.
So let's say a fire. I own a house and there was a fire. What kind of insurance covers that?
Homeowners insurance.
Let's say that I'm buying a house and there's a mechanic's lien on the title.
That's where title insurance would come in.
Okay. So what if I bought something and I bought it and then I find out there was a lien on it later? What would I do?
Call your title company because we would take care of that for you. That's why you have title insurance.
Okay, another question I get asked, this is pretty basic. What does a title company do? I mean, people have no idea. So you kind of broke it out for me into two pieces. So we're gonna start with you do title insurance. Tell me what that is.
We do. As a title company, we research the property, the buyers, the sellers, and look for any existing liens or anything that could place a lien on the property. If we miss something or anything, you're covered, like you said.
Yeah, great. So another service you have is escrow services. First of all, what is escrow and what are those services?
Well, as an escrow company, we're a neutral party that holds your funds. And like your earnest money, anything like that. We work with the buyers, sellers, realtors, and loan officers to make sure that your closing goes through.
So I know that I tell buyers, we get into contract, we've written a contract on their perfect house, and I'm immediately telling them you gotta get your earnest money in. So earnest money is this promise, kind of like I'm going to fulfill this contract, and I tell them to go take that to title. What kind of funds? Can they just use a personal check, or do they have to have a special kind of funds to bring that?
Personal checks are generally just fine. If there's a really quick close that's less than 10 days out, we do require a cashier's check, but otherwise, personal check is just fine.
So what's it mean that money sits in escrow?
You have skin in the game. If you bring in earnest money, you have skin in the game, and you're more likely to stick to your contract. And then if something doesn't close, we do have that money to fall back on if you've accrued any invoices like inspections or stuff like that.
Yeah. So if I went ahead as a buyer, I got into a contract, I had $5,000 in earnest money. So I would go to title and I write my personal check and I give it to title and it sits in an escrow fund, which is a neutral place.
Correct.
So my real estate agent can't get it and the seller can't get it and the seller's real estate agent is not going to get it either. It's sitting there with you guys.
That is correct.
Okay, so then if I have inspections and I go ahead and have inspections and then I decide I hate this house, I'm not going to follow through this contract, that inspector is going to get paid because that's going to come out of those escrow funds. Is that right?
Yes, it all depends on how your contract is written, whether the buyer or the seller pays it, but typically buyers pay inspections. That's just the standard.
That is escrow. Okay, so you also talked about liens a little bit. What's a lien?
Well, a lien is a claim against your property. It's something that will need to be paid off before you sell your property. Some common types of liens are your like your home loan, maybe if you're getting a bridge loan for a new house, child support, unpaid bills, and if you have any unpaid homeowners association dues. Those are things that could also place liens on your property.
Yes, I've heard of that. So if you get into a fight with your HOA, pay your HOA dues because they can put a lien against your property and then it makes it difficult to sell. This gets paid off.
Correct.
When you sell. So, all right. So let's say I have found that perfect house and I'm writing out my purchase agreement. If I am the buyer and I am going to buy a property, how and when do I choose my title company?
Well, typically the buyer does choose the title company,
Okay.
and that's at the time you do the purchase agreement. That's where you write that in.
And as a realtor, I usually tell my buyer that they get to choose the title company, and I recommend 402 Title for lots of reasons. Their customer service is off the charts. I have a 100% success rate. I've never had a problem or an issue, and they have saved my buyers some real grief. We've been through some things to know that they will go that extra step. That's why I use you guys all the time.
Well, thank you.
Well, then what does make one title company different from another? So let's talk about the title insurance piece.
The title insurance itself is pretty generic across the board because we all use the same underwriters.
Okay.
And so the pricing is going to be the same. The coverage that the underwriter gives you is going to be the same.
So what does make them different?
Customer service.
It really does. It really does. So if I was a buyer, what kinds of thing are you, the title company, going to need from me?
Well, first we're going to need your earnest money if you put that in your contract to bring in. We will need to know who your loan officer is. If you're going to be out of town at the time of closing, because we will need to coordinate a few things.
Okay.
Not everything can be signed by DocuSign.
Okay.
And then you'll need a current government issued photo ID.
Okay. So what if I'm the seller? What kinds of things would you need from me then?
Well, some of it's the same. We'll need that current issued government ID. We're going to need some pre-closing paperwork where you tell us what loans you have, if you're going to get a bridge loan to buy another home, if you have a homeowners association, and then you'll need to come in sometime that week prior to closing and sign your documents.
Oh, that's something I get asked a lot. So is it closing when the seller signs, or is it closing when the buyer signs? What's the difference?
Well, we don't actually close until the buyer signs and brings in all of their funds.
That's right. I had someone just recently ask me, well, there's a seller closing and a buyer closing, why there's two closings? And so I walked them through that. Okay, so now we're gonna throw curveballs at her. These are the hard questions. All right, what if I own my property in a trust or an LLC, or I want to buy property into a trust or LLC?
Not a problem at all. We just need to know about that, and then you will need to provide us some documents like trust document or an operating agreement if you have an LLC, so that we can find out who can legally sign for your entity.
What if I am married but legally separated?
Well, if you are not actually divorced 30 days out from your final divorce, your spouse is going to have to sign some paperwork, whether you're the buyer or the seller.
So if I am in a contentious divorce, should I buy property before I'm 30 days post-divorce?
I would suggest not.
Okay.
It makes it a lot more complicated because if they won't sign off on
Yeah.
some documents, it's not happening.
So I should probably just wait until that's all done.
I would.
Unless I'm in some kind of an agreeable relationship.
Agreed.
What if I pay child support? How does that affect me?
If you're the buyer, it doesn't affect you.
Okay.
But if you're the seller, it will affect you. Even if the person you're paying child support to has had nothing to do with the property. The state automatically places a lien on your property if you pay child support, and the person you pay it to will need to sign one piece of paper in order to remove that lien.
And we're gonna go this one more time because people get tripped up on this a lot. When I give you my earnest money, what kind of funds do I bring?
If you are closing more than 10 days out, you can just bring me a personal check.
Okay.
If you're closing right away, if for some reason it's a really quick close, or you get your earnest money to me really late, then I'm gonna need certified funds, which is a cashier's check or a federal wire.
When I close, so I'm the buyer and I'm coming to closing, what kind of money do you need from me?
I'm gonna need certified funds, and that is a Nebraska regulation and also an insurance underwriter regulation. And that would be either a cashier's check issued from your bank or a federal wire issued through your bank. And unfortunately, the ACH funds or the automatic transfer funds don't count as certified funds, so we wouldn't be able to close on time.
Well, Stacey, thanks so much for coming out today and answering these questions about title. If you have any more questions about what a title company does or the steps in buying and selling property, you can reach out to me or you can call 402 Title. Thanks so much.
Thank you.